mlango wa kulima kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Well, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Farm Kenya show, where you find the latest discussion when it comes to matters farming and therefore food security of this country, the continent of Africa and the whole world is amalgamated here. My name is Nokip Kimboy, and today we're having a very interesting discussion touching on pesticides. Remember, the number is 77, and that is not a type of plane that we get, Boeing 77. No, it is the number of pesticides that have been banned in the country. Recent directive by Cabinet Secretary Agriculture. And it's quite interesting because how is it enacted? That is one. And secondly, what is the impact when this particular move is made? How is it impacting especially majority of the smallholder farmers who feed you and me each and every single day? Do we have alternatives that are cost efficient and whatnot? That's why I couldn't talk about this without having an expert in studio, and I'm glad that I'm joined by Dr. Harun Maina, who's the lead program coordinator for agroecology and food rights at Henrik Ball Stiftung. I know this comes from Germany, Dr. Quite an interesting pronunciation right there, but welcome to the show. I mean, this issue about pesticides in the country, it sort of has been a long discussion in our ecosystem for a very long time. Whether to ban pesticides, one side is defending, the other side is pro-ban. Give me a little bit of history to understand how we got to this moment of banning quite a number of pesticides in Kenya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and for hosting us as the Henrik Ball Foundation. I think foundation is easier than Stiftung for most of our Kenyan colleagues. And let me say that the issue of pesticides in Kenya, we need to acknowledge that we have got pesticides that are not hazardous and we have others that are highly hazardous. Our concern has been on those ones that are highly hazardous. What do we mean? These are pesticides that have got impact on our health and also to environment. So the impacts are beyond the threshold that we cannot be able to accommodate within our ecosystem, both as human and environment. You know very well when you talk about environment, we have got our waters, we have got bees, which are our pollinators. So they are impacted negatively by these highly hazardous pesticides. And just to mention also in our health, I don't want to talk much about those, whether they are carcinogenic, you know, the kind of effect they have, but let's, as consumers, as Kenyans, know that there are some pesticides that are very toxic and they impact on our health. These are the ones that we term as highly hazardous pesticides. And pesticides range from insecticides we use to control insects that damage our crops. We are talking about herbicides that we use to control weeds. And we are talking about fungicides that we use to control the diseases or to manage diseases in our crops. So over time, as you'll notice, is that we have had quite a long campaign through the banner of the route to food, whereby as early as 2021, we were able to come up with this report that we consider as a very scientific report that we did under the route to food initiative banner, against which we were able to petition the Pest Products Control Board to be able to push it to do the withdrawal of the highly hazardous pesticides. And very interestingly is that before then, and I want to differentiate these terminologies when you read them, and kindly our viewers just observe that we differentiate between a withdrawal of a pesticide from the market and a ban. When we talk about a ban, this is an initiative that is taken globally from the multilateral agreements that we are signatory to that can really translate to withdrawal or removal of that product from the market. So that's what we call the ban. Currently, we have got 45 active ingredients that have already been banned in the country. Whereas after this petition of 2021, we started seeing elements now of withdrawal. These are domestic initiatives or internal initiatives as a country that are being taken to be able to remove these products from the market. Then there are others that can be restricted in terms of use from food crops, and it can be used for non-food crops and also in non-open field use.
Okay.
So as early as 2021, that's when we got a lot of push from the civil society under the banner of the Root to Food initiative, pushing the government even through the petition, through the National Assembly, whereby the PCP was mandated to initiate this process of withdrawal as now a nationally driven initiative.
Maybe just looking at that particular report, the 2021
this one,
scientific report on pesticides in the Kenyan market.
Yeah.
What did the report screen that sort of brought to light the urgency of this issue of making sure that certain pesticides are sort of either banned or withdrawn from the market?
I'm sure our public, they have had a lot of statistics that I don't want to dwell with them here to make it more complicated to what we can digest at present, whereby through this report, we have been able to identify a number of what I would call active ingredients that are highly hazardous. When we talk about a pest product, there are some issues we need to consider when we are referring that this pesticide is highly hazardous. One is that we look at the active ingredient. This active ingredient is that element of that pesticide that is used now to address the problem that we want to address. It may be a pest, an insect, a weed, or a fungi or a fungal kind of infections in the crop that we want to target. Now, the issue that was looked in this report was based on aspects of human health, the elements that we need to consider in our human health that is a negative impact of that highly hazardous pesticide, and also to our environment. So all these were rated, and they were rated where we were able to come up with 29 active ingredients as highly hazardous that are very toxic, both to our environment and both to our health. Yeah.
Okay.
Could be on the reproduction issues, on our hormonal issues, could be cancerous. All these are issues. Also the nervous system. So those 4 dimensions that we need to understand in a very simple manner. Let's understand that these are the target areas that are impacted negatively by these pesticides. So these were 29.
All right.
That we identified.
Oh, 29.
And based on that criteria of both environment, we are talking about issues of biodiversity, whereby we know very well that we have got very important, like the ladybird birds, very important insect like the ladybird. We have got the bees that are very essential in an environment that keep the ecosystem going due to cross-pollination. Then, of course, I've mentioned about the 4 elements about our health that also impact. So in combination with this, they were rated. And after the rating, we're able to identify 29 active ingredients in this report. Very important, that had never been done before. And we came out very strongly. And interestingly, actually, allow me to mention that out of this, we were able to have 13 withdrawn by PCPB. From the market. And these were part of what has been mentioned by the CS Agriculture.
Okay. Yeah. It's quite interesting because the source, these 29 ingredients, very hazardous to people's health, but they are in the market already, which means somebody is making these particular products. And in an ecosystem where we are playing in a global system, you can import some of these products. Is it a jurisdiction issue when you give it sort of just pull out of Africa and the world that some of these products are accepted in certain jurisdictions and when they land here, maybe they're accepted or rejected in that manner?
Very good question. Actually, what we have been struggling with for a very long time is the issue of the double standards. And that double standards means that maybe a product is banned or withdrawn or restricted use in another country. But because in Kenya, we have not, we don't have a law that stops us also from restricting or banning the use of that product in the country. Those companies were taking advantage in a manner that if a product, for example, is banned in Europe, we end up still using it because we have no restriction here in Kenya. But now, very luckily, we have the issue of the Amendment Bill of 2024, the Business Law, the Business Act, as was amended in 2024. And this was sent by the President in December. We cannot now, currently, and this actually supports that ban, that withdrawal and restriction given by the CS. It now supports that withdrawal and restriction. Now we cannot import any of the products that have been banned, have been withdrawn in the country of origin, or even restricted, heavily restricted in terms of use or marketing in those countries. We cannot now import them in this country. So that's where we were, but now we are lucky that has been there. So what we are now concerned is the implementation, or now how do we implement this law, or how do we effect it, so it becomes effective within the country.
Definitely. And I'm glad you've taken a step into that discussion about implementation, because seeing the Cabinet Secretary make an announcement and say 77, we have this list. Somebody is seated somewhere, they're taking a break from their farm and they're asking themselves, okay, what am I looking at here? And I don't know whether every farmer is very keen on some of these elements at the end of the day. So in terms of implementing, making sure that some of these hazardous products are put on hold, how is that affected in our ecosystem?
Now, just allow me to say that this is one of our major concerns. The pronouncement and taking action. It has been one of our major concerns, because we have seen in the past some of the withdrawals that have been done by the Pest Product Control Board, PCPB, and that phase of withdrawal had taken time, because they usually give us even maybe a grace period of 1 year for them to be mopped out of the market. So still, you'll find some in the market, and that has been our concern. Now, as you mentioned, actually, we have got 2 levels of this action by what the CS pronounced. The 77 have been, those 77 products have been withdrawn. And in total, we are talking about, 7 being withdrawn, and then 202 restricted of use. It means that these 202 cannot be used for food crops. They can either be used in industrial or non-food crops, or in other fields outside the agricultural area.
Okay,
which call the non-open fields. Now, 2 levels. One is that with the 77 that have been withdrawn, it means that they need to be totally mopped out of the market. They should not be in circulation. Then we have got the 202 that have been restricted for use outside food crops. This is where our concern is, actually, because just imagine a farmer outside there is not actually aware that this product is not supposed to be used, because in our shelves, in the agrovet, it is there. So our concern has been that, like you mentioned, what is the education awareness effort that have been put so that our farmers are aware that these products are not supposed to be used in our farms? So that becomes a challenge yet.
Okay.
And then remember, agriculture is a devolved function. So we do feel that the county government, they need to come up with the regulatory measures that can be able to help the farmers in their counties not to go for those products. I know, like in the press release that was given by the CS, by the Cabinet Secretary, mentioned the element of licensing those products. So what we feel, for example, is that a restrictive mechanism can be developed at the county level, whereby the county extension, the WOWs at the county level, can be able to approve maybe sort of certification or a license before the farmer goes to the agrovet to present. And then we need also a mechanism to be able to track that agrovets are not just dishing out or selling out those products of the control of the county. These are proposals that we feel we need now further level of engagement with the
Yes.
county governments to be able to regulate the access and control of these restricted pesticide products.
And even under the banner of Road to Food, where you guys did this particular
Yes, yes,
report,
this one, yeah.
which
Exactly.
is the anchor of this particular decision
Yes,
that
please.
we experienced.
Yes, please.
And it's been progressive over time.
Yeah.
You are very keen on empowering the farmers.
Yes.
Majority of our farmers are smallholder farmers.
Yes.
They use these particular products.
Yes.
And now looking at what alternatives are there, even when you talk about tapping into specialists like agronomists to consult, it's not as popular as it should amongst these smallholder farmers.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that particular gap and what exactly needs to be done to be more effective to reach to this majority smallholder farmers.
Very good. I would look at it from a multi-pronged approach from the government side and us in the civil space, because we do believe that we all have a role to play. And one thing I would like to appreciate that of late we have got us from the Route to Food initiative. We are working very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture through the agroecology desk office, and that has been very supportive in terms of our initiative. For example, in December last year, we launched the book, the small guidebook you're holding.
Yes.
That is that book is a farmer's resource guide.
Yes.
And it's a very simplified guide for the farmer, so that the farmer can be able to go there and look at practices that farmers can be able to adopt to be able to have practices that are going to reduce the dependency on pesticides. There are very many practices in terms of farming at the farming level before you even go for a biopesticide. We have been able to list those practices: companion planting, rotational planting, use of the soil inputs that we do, and we have got a pyramid there that shows the level of intervention.
Okay.
From those practices, if they don't work, you can now go to a biopesticide. If the biopesticide don't work, you can go to a pesticide that is synthetic but not highly hazardous. And they are there. Those practices are there. And they are working. Personally, I've used them. These practices, I'm adopting them in my farm, and it works. So this becomes a very good measure that we are now collaborating with the Ministry of Agriculture to make sure that this guide is available at the county level in our 42 counties. We are working very closely with Engineer Kiplagat, who is in charge of agroecology at the Ministry of Agriculture, for this to reach to that farmer. Secondly, another level that now the ministry is working on is to be able to come up with a training and extension guide on agroecology. Okay. And what we are talking about agriculture are to be able to come up with practices that are friendly to the environment, to the environment, to the ecology, and also are able to give safe food out to our farmers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very, very critical, that balance.
Yeah.
And all hands have to be on deck.
Yeah.
From the government side, from the private sector side, and also the willingness of the farmer to be able to engage.
Yeah.
Which is very, very critical.
Yeah.
And now with the withdrawal of these products and also sort of restriction of others, which are way more, we are looking at alternatives for farmers now. Is that also part of the challenge that a farmer has to transition into alternative products, maybe things that are products that they're not used to?
Let me tell you, I think you have asked a very important question that's quite paramount, because the challenge we have is the education system. All the way from basic education, secondary, tertiary, and even the agricultural high-level kind of learning that we get. Because we have been taught about high production coming out of conventional agriculture. And still, up today, I tend to think there's a lot of challenge in terms of adopting agroecology. And And the only way we can be able to have these alternative measures that have been proven to be sustainable in terms of balancing the ecosystem is over dependency on external inputs. We need a balance in such that we are able to enhance the resilience of the production system. The system should be able to cope with the shocks that it's going through. Even now, it has been even pronounced. I mean, it has been enhanced by climate change, you know very well. Mm-hmm. We're having increased incidences of drought, prolonged even drought, not even drought, short drought periods, but even prolonged. These alternates even with floods. So how can we be able to make that system resilient by itself without depending on a lot of external input? Remember, this external input, you're adding a shilling in the pocket of you are extracting a shilling from the pocket of the farmer, which the farmer needs to save under those kind of challenges the farmer is operating in. So we need to be able, even in our curriculum, to be able to adopt this kind of stuff. That is the guide that we have already produced. Mm-hmm. And also we are moving forward to be able to have this guide in Swahili. We know we did it in English, mm-hmm. and we understand maybe the farmers may get a challenge. Our farmers, I just want to mention that we will be working very soon in English on a Swahili version. And we're also asking our county, even if they want to domesticate and translate this into vernacular, mm-hmm. let's do all this as we can. So my point when I talked about our education system, I'm so glad that we have now an agroecology strategy that is taking across at the national level. Our counties are coming up with agroecology strategies and policies. I know very well it started with Moranga. We had West Pokot, they have had theirs, Makueni. We know Nakuru County is working on this. This is very, very impressive. Mm-hmm. Because this kind of an embracement is going to have extension officers embracing agroecology at the county level. Remember, agriculture is a devolved function. Mm-hmm. So these efforts just amplify the need of extension officers at the grassroots to embrace this kind of knowledge in agroecology that is very holistic in terms of addressing challenges that come up with monocropping and kind of intensive agriculture that heavily depends on external inputs. I mean external inputs as synthetic fertilizers, what we are calling about pesticides, name it. Mm-hmm. So that kind of a balance is very key for a sustainable approach in terms of addressing agriculture issues within our country. Okay. And just to end up, when it's come to that question, I would like to also observe that there is now the trend and because of the pronounced effects of some of these pesticides and diseases that are emerging. You know, very recently we had the National Cancer Institute pronounce that we're having deaths or even infections that transit to 44,000 attributed, I think 25,000 deaths associated with cancer. People are becoming conscious about their health. Mm-hmm. And even if it can be challenged that highly hazardous pesticides could not be associated, there is some significant evidence that some of the cancers are related to HHPs, highly hazardous pesticides. So public is becoming aware. There is demand for safe food from the public. There is demand for food that people can identify with in terms of safe production practices. Okay. So we need to embrace this at all levels. And this should not be seen as if it's a propaganda. It should be, actually, we need to have this as a national disaster in terms of dependency on highly hazardous pesticides. Mm-hmm. And it's how you can attribute it to some of these diseases. Okay. We need to take this cautiously, of course, from a very scientific point of view when we are talking about the causal effect. We need to be very cautious, I do agree. But there is evidence in some other countries and also in scientific journals where you can attribute some of the diseases to the dependency on highly hazardous pesticides. Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Our time has run out.
Yeah.
I just want to know, has this discussion begun in regards to the concerns that you said, especially this restricted use, and how we are implementing these directives? Any discussions between Henrik Ball together with the Ministry of Agriculture and our farmers? Any progress briefly as we finish?
I have to admit that of late, we have had a very cordial relationship with the Ministry of Agriculture, which was not there before. And I wanted to emphasize this, is that PCPB need to come. We work as a team. I want to appreciate the Ministry of Agriculture for reaching out to us. Actually, I'm so glad that the Ministry of Agriculture is recognizing the role of our research work that we have done. We have got empirical studies that they are being embraced by the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay. And we do hope and pray that this is going to continue. Mm-hmm. We are hoping to partner in some of the forums that we can be able to do a synergistic kind of sharing of this knowledge to the wider public, to the scientific community. And I'm looking forward when we actualize this, because it will be a big milestone in terms of partnership in this field of highly hazardous pesticides.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harold Miner,
Cheers.
Who is the lead program coordinator for agroecology and food rights at Henrik Ball Foundation. Thank you for making time to discuss this important topic.
Thank you.
That's where Farm Kenya takes a short break. Still to come, we're discussing matters to do with dairy and how we can milk the sector into more productivity. Stay tuned. Asante sana.
Unalima ardhi, mlango wa kulima kuwa mshindi.